All right, well, this is going to be a full DOT level type inspection, which I haven't done in a minute anyway. And he decided to come up, learn how to do it, and yeah. He has his permit, but you're going to be joining Swift sometime next year?
Yes, I am.
Cool. All right, so when you got your hood up, you know, whatever side of the motor is just kind of where you start. You know, the things you want to check, I like to go from top to bottom. You hear everybody say go top to bottom. Okay. So, you know, here's your air filter. Your air filter's up in there. Basically just look for the big hole, okay? And then you'll see that your air filter's right in there. You want to make sure all this is tight. So you just basically just start grabbing on everything. And you see how all that is pretty tight. This doesn't turn more than 1 inch each way. So, and then you also want to just check here. You don't see how that's all like click clacking.
Right.
You know, it's real firm, real tight. You're looking here for any leaks. Here's your reservoir. So yeah, we go from top to bottom, but you know, you kind of go down the thing. So that way when you're looking at one system, you know, you can kind of do it all at once. So as I'm doing this, you know, I'm looking here, but I'm also seeing, you know, the reservoir, oil leaks, all this other stuff. Here's my power steering pump motor.
There it is.
Okay. So this is where it's pressurized, so that you can see this is your low pressure line, this is your high pressure line. This high pressure line goes down to, you know, down to the rack. Oil filters right here. We just see that there's no leaks coming down from here. Dipsticks right here, so you would check that for oil. Engine oil is right here, cap's tight, this is tight. All your air lines here are not leaking. Your fuel rail, all that looks good. You don't have any leaks coming from any there. Here is our washer fluid, but you can see we did have a leak. So you see all this blue stuff here. This is tinted blue, so that way you can see that. This bottle was cracked. It has been replaced. I'm actually going to go get the truck washed, and I'm going to have them wash all this off, so that way, you know, if I do get DOT inspected, they're not going to sit there and question, you know, why do you have, you know, blue fluid from your reservoir everywhere? Because then this would be considered cracked or damaged. Okay, even though it has been repaired, but I have a repair order in my truck showing that it has been repaired the day it was repaired, and my truck just hasn't been washed. So you're gonna want to try to find where your air pump is. Air pump, I think, is on the other side. That's one of the things I just kind of go through. I don't remember exactly where it's at. There is actually a slight air leak. Put your head over here, you can barely hear it.
Oh yeah, you can hear it.
Yeah, there's an air leak. And that's on tank side, because my brakes are pushed or pulled out, except my trailer brakes. Actually, I don't, are my trailer brakes pushed out? Yeah, I got air going to the trailer, but yeah, I got an air leak. All right, so that's gonna have to go get checked. This truck's going to shop later on today. Injector number 7, this injector back here is not functioning correctly. I don't know why that's just floating out in the wind. Oh well. Not a mechanic. So you just kind of go through, you just want to make sure everything's, you know, mounted. You just kind of grab anything, you know, you see all your lines are zip tied up out of the way. They're not going to get inside. If you could rotate this fan by hand, then your fan clutch is bad. So you just kind of grab on this and you see how it's very firm.
Right.
It's not spinning very easy. And you know, you're really deforming that to get it to spin. You also want to just check your fan blade, make sure there's no chips, cracks, or anything, you know, big chunks missing. If there's a piece that's missing, it's going to be off balance, and the chances of your fan literally disintegrating is very likely. So that's just something you check for. Now coming down here to the steering system, you're going to, anywhere you see these castle nuts, which is the ones with the notches cut out, you must have a cotter pin in it. If it does not have a cotter pin, it's not legal. So we have a castle nut here with a cotter pin. When you look right here, we see we have another castle nut with a cotter pin. You see that cotter pin? We want to make sure that we see that cotter pin. Right here, there's no cotter pin, so that's fine. But here, it's not a castle nut, but we have a cotter pin, and we have another castle nut right here with a cotter pin. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So you learn where your castle nuts are, and you want to make sure that your cotter pins are in there. Now, let's say they replace this nut here. For some reason, they put a castle nut on it. Okay, just because that's what they had. Theoretically, that now has to have a cotter pin in it.
Oh.
So don't ever take a castle nut and put it where you can't put a pin in it, because DOT is going to sit there and say, well, why is there not a pin in it? Okay.
Oh, I see.
So you have to use the right nuts and bolts in the right places, and if somebody swaps, then it must have a cotter pin. Okay, because DOT, they're not an engineer, neither are you. So if it's supposed to have a cotter pin, or it's a castle nut, it has to have a cotter pin. It's that simple. Okay, so if you misplace one, or hell, I don't care if you put a castle nut right here, it must now have a pin in it. Okay, it's easier if you turn the wheels out to you to do your brake inspection, but in short, you want to make sure you got all your threads are on there, and that the threads do come all the way through the nuts. Okay, sometimes on trailers, if the trailer is set for dual steel rims and they put aluminum on there, the threads are not long enough. Okay, so that's something you want to be careful about. Sometimes a shop might get lazy and they'll put two aluminums because they don't want to mount some steel. You want to make sure your shocks are good and tight. The bushings all be in good shape. You got no oil leaking on the bottom. It's nice and clean. Your shackles are good and tight, and they're not cracked, broken. Your hangers, all this looks good and tight, well mounted. No cracks on the frame. Okay, anywhere all this is connected, including, you want to look way back there. Leaf spring looks to be in good shape. This all looks to be in good shape. It's not bent, cracked, or any illegal welds. Basically, if there's, now that's a really good debate. What's an illegal weld? Okay, an illegal weld is something where it looks like crap. If a weld was done correctly, you wouldn't be able to really tell it was a weld. 1, 2, a proper weld versus a not proper weld is basically, if you have a weld job done, it better be done at a weld shop, certified, blah 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 blah, has been x-rayed, and is done to manufacturer standards. Okay, now not so much these road tractors, but if you get like an off-road tractor that has equipment that was installed on it, they might opt, instead of bolting it, to weld it. And that's legal. But it can't be like a makeshift, connect some jumpers to here and using a stick welder to, do a patch job. That's not legal. That's an illegal weld. So just because you see a weld doesn't mean that's illegal. You need to verify or, follow up on that and find out, where it was done, has it been, checked, and basically make sure that everything was done correctly. So, and then the other thing, you see this is a short can, not a long can. Right. You will see that going towards the back. That will tell you how much this is supposed to be able to pull out. But a trick, I don't have it on this truck yet, but you put zip ties on them. Oh, okay. And I'll explain that in another video when I actually do the zip tie. But it lets you know if you have a can that goes bad. Okay, actuator or a slack adjuster. A zip tie on the rod will actually show you all that. I just haven't done that yet. And of course, you want to check your brake shoes for the proper wear line. The brake shoes, there's actually a mark on them, so if it's below that mark, then they're not legal. So it's pretty straightforward. And that your drum is not cracked, damaged, welded, or anything like that. A good thing to do to just check overall health is, you see this space right in between here. You can put your finger on it, and you go ahead and put your finger there. It's not going to be dirty. It's going to be relatively clean. And what you're going to want to do, all right, it's not hot. You want to check for oil, okay? And there should be 0 oil, 0 contaminants there. You see how smooth that is?
Real smooth, yeah.
If it's not smooth, then you have a brake issue happening, okay? If you go down there and you feel oil, then you probably have a bad hub seal, okay? There should never be oil on the inside of this brake drum, okay? And you want it to be nice and smooth like a baby's bottom. So as long as that's happening, then you know you're good. All right, there's a light test mode on here, but it's bright, so it's kind of hard to check all your lights. So we're just going to go on the premise that we know that our lights are good.
Okay.
But whenever it's nighttime, just check your lights. It takes seconds. It's one of those easy things. I rather do that at night than trying to do it, you know, in mid-afternoon. Okay.
Right.
But as you come around, you just kind of want to tap those, make sure they're, you know, well mounted, not moving. Same thing here as you're coming around. You'll check this tire the exact same way you did the other one. This is the AC system up here. Of course, exhaust side. This is, you know, the pressure. I mean, pressure side. This is non-pressure side. So this is coming down from the filter, going into the turbo, is getting pressurized, going through the intercooler. This is the exhaust side right here. This is the, oh, that's gonna have to get checked. That's oil line for the turbo. Oh no, that's a sensor. All right, so oh, there's the oil line. So yeah, that's the sensor, and that's damaged. That's the ETG temperature probe. So that will get replaced. So you just kind of come up here. You want to check to make sure, you know, coolant is red, so you're looking for anything red, kind of like on the other side. We saw some blue. Everything looks to be firmly mounted. Exhaust, you know, you want to look through here. You want to see black smoke, soot. That will let you know if you have an exhaust issue. Here's your alternator, AC. That is your water. Belt, you don't want too much play. That amount of play is just fine. Now, if you pull out, you could actually pull on the tensioner, where you should actually really be pushing in. Okay, if it pushes in a whole lot, then the tensioner's not good. Okay,
Oh, okay.
Pulling it out, it should pull out more than it would push in. Okay, so that's fine. You want to check all your bolts, hoses, clamps. You know, you just kind of move all this around. Just overall, just checking everything. Yeah, you see this wrap is just paper, so that's fine. That's not damaged. But you want to check for oil leaks. This right here is just grease. Okay, so that's fine. You want to check your bolts, shocks, basically all the same thing you did over there. Okay. Now, when you're doing your pre-trip for DOT, if you name the castle nut and the cotter pin, that actually counts as two different things.
Oh, wow.
So if you just name the one but you don't name the other, you miss a point.
Oh.
Now, when you're doing your DOT inspection, you can't, they're not gonna, you know, tick you on something that is not a pre-trip inspection. Okay, so let's say, for instance, this says warning, and you read that off. They're not gonna say, well, that doesn't count. Okay, they're just not gonna mark anything off. So whatever you see, wherever you're doing, and you're going from top to bottom, you want to name everything you see. Talk their freaking ears off. Okay, you have like an hour and a half to do that pre-trip. Use the entire hour and a half to name off every little thing you see, and you can't fail it. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, so you know, you want to check to make sure you got at least 110 tire pressure. You want to make sure that you don't have any damage on the tire. It's above on steers. Do you remember what it is?
When I was reading it, when I was studying it, it said 432 or 232.
432.
432, yes.
32 second is for everything non-steer.
Last year. Oh,
Are you allowed to have recaps on the front?
oh man.
Virgin only. Not allowed to run recap. So all front tires have to be virgin. Drives, trailers can be recaps.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Steers absolutely must be a virgin tire. So yeah, basically you just sit here, check bolts, nuts, everything, same thing, and then let's go on down the side. You want to make sure your mirrors, everything's mounted properly, it's clean, not cracked, damaged. You'll check your windshield washer. That's something you do inside the cab, but you want to make sure your windshield work, wipers work, all that. Both horns, don't just check one, check both.
Check both, okay.
Your steps are mounted. You got no major damage here. That's preventing safe operation. Your side flaps are mounted on fine. I got a loose bolt. And that's normal. The wind blows them and they get a little loose over time. I've had this one tightened up a few times, but that one's, it's not really all that bad. I just don't like that squeak. Your tire is mounted securely. You want to make sure the chain is on it. This is nice and bolted. Your catwalk doesn't move, doesn't make any sound. It's properly bolted and attached. Fuel tank is properly attached. You know, you got your bands, bolts, seal, and it's on the tank, and it's tight. That seal actually counts as a point. Why don't you want to go on? So you want, pull that off, take a look at it, say seal. Chain rack, you want to make sure it's properly bolted on there.
Those are for the
Snow.
tire chains.
Yeah, this is tire chains.
Snow.
So you want to make sure that you got, that's all bolted on there. It's real firm. There's no sound coming from that. It's like a brick wall. Same thing with your frame, suspension pieces, brakes, tires, all that. And you can look right here, you see how much bigger those actuators are.
Oh yes.
But basically, same thing that you did up front. You want to make sure that you got your oil seal on your axles. There's no oil in the bottom. You have no drips. You have no signs of a leak. This does not have a sight glass. So you can't see if you have the proper amount of fluid in there or not.
Oh, okay.
Some do, some don't. This one doesn't. It's one of those things that they will check when you get a service done. All right, but it's something you do want to make sure. So when you're standing here, you want to make sure you got your clearance light up there that is functioning and working. You got one right here. Check down the side. You got one at least halfway, and one on the bottom and one on the top.
Oh, okay.
You want to make sure that your DOT tape is clear and visible, and is not dirty, damaged, or anything like that. Yeah, DOT tape. That your rub rail here is not damaged. All the rivets are in place. And then your panels, none of the panels, rivets are damaged, flopping, hanging, or anything like that. If there's a hole in the panel itself, that's not a DOT violation. Okay. As long as the rivets are not broken. Okay, so if there's a puncture hole right here, that's fine. That's just your trailer's damaged. Okay, that's a cargo thing versus DOT. You got your mud flaps. You have your reflectors on the mud flaps. You must have that. Now, I do have to get this replaced soon because it's been cracking and whatnot. But it's something I've been watching out. But I know that my truck's going to go in the shop, so that will be getting fixed and replaced. Your landing gear, you want to make sure that your landing gear is not broken, damaged, hanging, or anything like that. You got good, nuts, bolts, and all that. You can kind of give it a little bit of a kick, and you're just kind of wanting to make sure nothing is moving more than what it should. Okay. Come down to something like right here. You want to check your floor. Make sure that all these right here are not severely damaged, not broken. All the bolts are there. Or not bolts, rivets. Going down the whole side, you can also see that your air lines are up out of the way. You come down here and you'll check your lights. If you had a flashlight, you could go look up in the jaws really well, see, make sure that your kingpin is locked. Airbags are not damaged. They're inflated and working as they should. You can see your other side mud flap. You got the reflector and everything on there, so all that's working fantastic. No problems there. You're also looking at the back side of this landing gear, and you want to make sure all your bolts, nuts, and everything, no crack, damage, or anything like that. So you basically just name off everything you're looking at. It's really not that difficult. As you come down, you're just supposed to verify, yeah, it works. But these get rusted out really easy, okay? So in a real world situation, I kind of just want to grab it and just make sure it's not going to break off easy. Because if I'm somewhere where it can get fixed, I want to break it here, not when I'm going down the road.
Right.
So I don't care if I break this or snap it right the fuck off right now. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to have someone fix it. So when you're at the yard, try to break this off. And you'll find that if you're up north, these will fall off easy. Okay, the bolts and the hardware that holds it on will fall off. They just get rusted out. Same thing with, you know, lights up here. You know, you just kind of push on them. And again, I don't care if they break, okay? If they break with me pushing on it, then the slightest amount of wind, bump, maybe road debris or something, or maybe a DOT officer going like this is gonna break it off and then say, oh, well, that's no good. Okay? So I'd rather break it myself, have it fixed myself, and not be worried about it, okay? Now, my trailer does not have this. If you have this, as you're going down inside the trailer, just kick it. You know, this doesn't rattle. It didn't have any real weird noises. It's not flopping all over the place. So, you know, you just kind of kick that and just make sure it's properly mounted. When you come over here, I'm already looking at my brake chamber. I can see that it looks in very good order. Tires, I'm checking this side, and I'm also checking the other side. I could also see this side, there's no bubbles on this side, okay? So without having to get my head all up underneath there, I'm already looking for warning signs. I'm gonna have a video coming out talking about tire warning signs. This tire does not have any warning signs that are just screaming out to me. So as I come over, you know, I'm gonna, you know, look in here, make sure I got all my lug nuts. There's a little bit of oil residue here, but that's fine. I mean, that's just dirt and grime, could have been oil that they used to tighten or whatever. So I'm not really concerned about that. Okay, you'll see on trailers that color happens a whole lot. Okay, so I'm now checking this tire. I'm looking for metal, anything that's in it. The tread is very even all the way across. Okay, same thing on this tire, and this tire. So when I see from this side and I'm coming over to the top and I'm looking now on this side, I see that the tire tread is very equal. So I'm no longer worried about these two tires. I'm going to check for pressure. By going like that, pressure feels good. So now I'm checking this side. I see that it's very even going up to the top. Check for pressure. And I'm going to come over to this back side. And again, checking for pressure. Okay. Here's my mud flap. Again, same thing like the lights. Okay. I want to make sure this is not going to break off. If it's going to break off with me, you know, grabbing it, it's not going to take much for a roadkill or something to knock this right off. So I have no problem grabbing this and trying to rip it off. Okay, you should never be able to go full Hulk on it and rip it off yourself. Okay, so, you know, don't worry about it, grab it and have fun with it. Light here, you just want to make sure it's attached. You'll have your lights on. I got them off right now. So you'll check your lights up on top, check your lights back here. You got to make sure you have 3 levels of DOT tape. This is an easy way to remember it. Down here on your bull bar, right here on your door, and in your white triangles on each corner of the trailer. Okay, so you must have 1, 2, 3, and 4, or just 3 levels, you know, there, and there. Okay, and then of course your license plate light. This is one of the other things that breaks off really easy. So, you know, you just kind of grab it. If it breaks off by just doing that, screw it. Okay, it's not your problem, get it fixed. Here, you know, you just kind of push on these a little bit. Just want to look at your door. It's on there well. It's not, you know, looks like it's not going to fall off. Okay, on these push bars, I just like to kind of push on them a little bit. Right here in the center, this DOT tape can get real soft because it's all rusted behind it. So, you know, you just kind of put your foot on it once or twice and just kind of feel, make sure it's not giving. Come over here and you're doing a lot of the same thing. Okay, so you grab this, you're checking your half tire, come around here, checking your half tires over here, looking down in between them, you know, just real quick, simple. Checking your lug nuts, checking for any leaks. Yeah, because these are nitrogen filled, so it's 100 psi for nitrogen, it's 110 psi if it's air filled. So I'm checking here, I see that, you know, my tires are good, even wear. Checking this side, I see that my pins are in, levers pushed in. I forgot to mention that on the other side. There's 4 trailer pins on these slides. Okay, so there's one there and there's one back there, and it's on the same as on both sides. Okay, and you're looking at your cans, air lines. You got an air tank right here, and there's air going to this back trailer right now. So if there was a air leak back here, we would actually hear it because this trailer can move. So if you need to get underneath this trailer to do anything, don't do it on the downhill side, always the uphill side, okay? Like right now, I'm fairly safe. If something was to happen, I can fall out fairly easy. You don't want to really get underneath on the opposite side in the tire path, because the truck is pushing this down that way, okay? But I like to have my trailer brakes pushed in when I'm doing my trailer inspection, so that way I can check for air leaks, okay? So I know that my trailer is good. And then, you know, you're just coming down, and a lot of the same thing, your DOT tape, you know, your lights, you know, you want to make sure your handle is, you know, is firmly attached. You know, this is not going to fall off. It's bolted on there. It's all there. Now, when you go and you're raising a trailer up and down, you want to make sure you wear gloves, or you want to check to make sure that this is not like all chopped up. Sometimes I've seen some people grab this and then they go to, you know, roll up or roll down their landing gear and slice their hands open, because sometimes a sharp edge could get on here really easy, and if you're not paying attention, you're just tired and you're to go to spin this, yeah, it can hurt. Luckily that has not happened to me, but I've seen some people get some really nasty cuts. And you know, if you're driving a standard and it's your left hand, I mean your right hand that you just sliced open, you're not driving for a little while. You know, at least if you're driving an automatic, if you damage your right hand, you can just go to your left hand, you know, slap it and, you know, drive, and you know, you can do it. If you're driving standard, you're kind of screwed. So again, you just want to make sure this is all mounted firmly. Now this is actually on a pin, okay? So this is going to move just fine, but we want to make sure our pin is there. If we remove that pin, we could actually remove these. So if we're putting chains on, we can remove this to make it easier to put chains on, okay? This is not, the way that this mounts versus the Freightliners is different. So that's fine. We just want to make sure our pin is there, okay? And then same thing with these tires. Then you have your airline system up here. You want to make sure that's up off the catwalk, it's not touching. I got to replace this spring. It is getting a little loose, and this one is not in the best shape either. Both of those will probably be getting replaced when it goes into the shop. You want to make sure this is not damaged. You want to make sure your fifth plate up here, or your slide plate, is not damaged, cracked, or any illegal welds. Your trailer inspections, which is right here, it's in date. This is when it was inspected, so it's good until 04/19. Your airlines, here's a good way to always remember your airlines, okay? If you're walking by and you don't see red, means stop. If you see red, don't stop, okay? So if you don't see red, stop. That means your airlines are switched.
Oh,
okay. Now this has pressure to it, so we're not going to go ahead and pull it out, but you want to make sure you got good seals here and here. If the seal is leaking, you can hit on this red right here, push this red piece in that way. You'll take this out, and you see this has some damage to it. I just kind of take it and then you just hit like this a few times, tightening that up, and then you can put your airlines back on. And it will stop some air leaks, okay? Right here, you have to have a vehicle inspection sticker on the back of the cab, okay?
Oh, okay.
And you want to make sure that it's in date. If this is out of date, that's a DOT violation. It's one that most people forget about, okay? This is your service that was done on the truck, when it was done and when it's due again, okay? So you want to make sure that your truck has its service and it's not out of service yet. Know when your truck's up for service. If you're driving a truck that's out of service, that's not good. Again, you want to check to make sure your tire's mounted, all the bolts are in where it should be, your steps are mounted firmly, attached. Fuel tank, same thing, seal here. You have airbags here, you want to make sure that they're, you know, firmly attached. Airlines here, valves, the whole 9 yards, you want to make sure that's all there. Here's your stowaway, you know, for if you take your lines off. And coming up to the front, you know, DEF, make sure the cap's on there, it's good and tight, steps, and basically that's it. So you just name everything off. Morning. Had a good little nap?
Yeah, it went so good.
Yeah. Just got done doing a whole walkthrough.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we have an air leak. Stick your head right here. You hear it? That literally just happened. Do you know what I think it is? When they dropped my transmission up in New York, there's a fitting that's a little loose, and it's finally worked its way loose.
Could be. It looks like this one's coming up.
Yeah, I was messing with it a little bit. It's going to the shop, so I'm not overly worried about it.
Yeah,
I mean, air pressure's fine, you know, for the 5-minute rule. So I ain't worried about it, but worried enough, I'm gonna get it fixed. I just don't like air leaks. I don't care if it's DOT legal or not. I just don't like air leaks. But yeah, so that's it. For everyone over there, thank you for watching. 31 minute long. Oh my god, that's a long video. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please comment, like, rate, and subscribe. We are in, shoot, where are we?
Alamo, Texas.
Alamo, Texas, down by the border. So anyway, I'm gonna talk with him for a little bit, and then we're gonna bust out of here. We gotta get back up north. We're gonna clean this truck, wash it, and a bunch of other stuff. And like it says on the door, well, play button, so that means subscribe, and there's my name. Thank you for watching.